Joining us today to talk about cricket in Kenya specifically is Sharad Rao, who holds the prestigious Presidential Award Elder of the Burning Spear for outstanding and distinguished services to the nation. A sportsman and a sports administrator, having served in the International Cricket Council and also have been a judge for the Olympic Games. Welcome to the show. I hope I've covered most of your achievements, because there was a long list of achievements that you have under you. But you know what, Mr. Sharad Rao, please tell us a bit about yourself and the love for cricket that you have, since this is the T20 show.
Well, I am a lawyer by profession. My most recent assignment was, of course, chairman of the Judges and Magistrates Waiting Board. Before that, I served in the Iran-US Arbitration Tribunal at The Hague. And before I was sent to what I call a political exile, to Holland, I was the Director of Public Prosecutions for Kenya.
No.
Now, when the Attorney General fell into disfavor with President Moy, they found it inconvenient for me to be in that position as DPP. So I was very politely transferred. The President said to me at the time that it was for 1 year. I stayed in Holland for 12 years.
Oh, wow.
So when I came back, they appointed me as chair of the Judges and Magistrates Waiting Board. But my career in sports started well back in 1963. In the 60s, as you know, the teams were sports, as everything else in Kenya, was divided racially. Right? So even the national bodies, such as tennis, cricket, all were divided into those who were looking after Asian sport, those who were looking after European sport. So in 1963, we broke through what was the Kenya Lawn Tennis Association, which was not predominantly, solely European body. So one or two of us got in on that body when they sort of opened up.
Right.
And their secretary was going on leave. So my name was proposed as acting secretary, much to the dismay of the Europeans who were sitting there, who all turned around and said, no, Mr. Rao is far too busy, he's a very leading criminal lawyer, he can't possibly have the time. So someone said, but just ask him. So I was asked. So I said, well, if it's a matter of a few months, I don't mind taking it on, I will. And I did. So the very first team that we invited was from India, headed by Krishna, which again didn't go down with the Europeans. They said we would lose, we would do well. So we said, no, we're few Asians here, we will cover you if there is any loss.
Right.
All right? But we'll have the team here. It was sponsored by Air India. We put the team at our houses, they played, and we didn't lose. In fact, we made some money.
Wow.
Then we got in the professionals like Rod Laver and Roswell and all. They used to travel to South Africa. We got them to stop over. We used to have 3 days of tennis at the Nairobi Club. So that's the kind of exposure that I had.
Right.
So in 68, when we sent our team to Mexico, that's when we won most of our medals. The first time was in the Mexico Games. I led the Kenya tennis team to Mexico. That's how I got involved with the Olympics. And I got to know people like Kipchoge Keino, Naftali Temu, who all performed so well in Mexico City. So after that, I was actively associated with the Olympics in Kenya, which included the Commonwealth Games.
Right.
So, and then I was heading tennis. From tennis, I switched to badminton and cricket, of course, because I was president of the Nairobi Gymkhana, where most of the cricket was being played.
Yeah.
So that is, in short, sort of the background I had in sports. I can't claim to be a sportsman, a player myself. I have played cricket, I've played hockey, I've played most of these games, but at a mediocre level. I mean, I've played in the league in cricket, I've captained the Law Society side, I've captained a few other sides, but I do not call myself An athlete. I said my best performance as far as this, I have an athlete's foot,
Yeah.
I have a tennis elbow.
Well, fair enough. That is quite a long list, actually, of accolades and things that you've done over your years, and it's tremendous to have someone like you here. You know, we are going to be asking him a lot more questions. I'm going to be talking to him about the committee that has been formed by Cabinet Secretary Amina Ibrahim and what his views are. We have with us in the studio Sharad Rao, a man with a lot of accolades behind his name, having served as one of the judges for Olympic Games, also in the Commonwealth Games, as you heard it from him, also in the International Cricket Council. There's so much, the list just goes on and on. But you know, there was one thing you mentioned about how you weren't an avid player in cricket or any of these sports, but yet were associated from the background, but at least managing the entire team or looking after the different teams and different committees. So now Cabinet Secretary Amina Ibrahim has formed a committee that is going to be overlooking the whole election process of Cricket Kenya. What do you feel about this? Because there is no one in the committee who has any sort of cricketing background. What is your take on that?
Well, it is headed, as you know, by Justice Oloch. She is the immediate first Vice President of the International Criminal Court. We have Justice Vishram, one of the retired judges of the Court of Appeal, very eminent judge, very well thought of. Both I know personally and both I hold in great admiration and respect. But I think when it comes to cricket, I don't think either of them has either played cricket or has been involved in the administration of cricket. And frankly, I think they know little or very little about cricket.
Yes.
So ideally, I think that the team should have consisted of a few cricketers, eminent cricketers who have background, administration-wise, player-wise. We have people like, you had Jimmy Rayani the other day, who was president, and he was also on the International Cricket Council on the board.
Yes.
We have Subhash Modi, an international umpire.
Yes.
Highly knowledgeable as far as cricket is concerned.
True.
We have Samir Inamdar, we have Asif Karim. At least one or two of them, had they been on this committee, it should have helped because they know the problems.
Correct.
If you don't know the problem, how do you solve it?
Yes.
Very true.
Yes.
I mean, there's a high-powered committee. I think she has taken on what I say a top-heavy job, having a heavy hammer to kill a fly. And I doubt whether this team would be able to actually kill the fly.
Okay, yes.
I think the best approach as far as this team is concerned, that she has formed, and I compliment her. I thank her for the interest that she has taken. But I think I would, in the circumstances, not limit this team to cricket.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why in a minute.
Okay. Yeah.
This team should be expanded, its term should be expanded to cover all sports in Kenya.
Right.
Let this team look at all the constitutions of all national associations, not just cricket.
Not just cricket. True.
See that they all comply with the Sports Act.
Right.
See where there is a commonality among them that you can bring, so that there are fewer differences when it comes to playing, when it comes to program, when it comes to development.
Right.
Bring in those people, the chairman, the secretaries of those associations, talk to them.
Right.
Find out what their programs are, what the development they have in mind to start at the grassroots level. And very little in cricket, very little in tennis, very little in badminton. These are sports we can excel at.
Very true.
Cricket was, of course, we were one of the top countries. Some of the players we had, like Ramanbhai, Jala, Jabbar, they were international class.
Yes, very true.
We have no player today of that class.
Exactly.
Why? Because we allowed it to run down. Who allowed it to run down? I think it's the people who are administering cricket. The problem is in the cricket administration at the association level, national level, also at the provincial level.
Right.
I mean, they don't get on with the Nairobi Provincial League, which is the one that is primary. All the cricket, or most of the cricket, is played in Nairobi. And yet these two bodies don't get on.
True.
So my suggestion to the Cabinet Secretary would have been, Expand as far as this team is concerned.
Yes.
Normalization.
Yep.
Don't restrict it to cricket.
Right.
Expand it. Let them look at all the national associations. Find out what is common, what can be done to improve sport, how they can go to the grassroots level and bring up more sporting players. How can we associate or bring in players from outside? How can we go overseas to improve our standards?
True.
All right. And there is plenty of money.
Yes. Yes.
You ask me, and I have been connected with Olympic Solidarity. There is money for you for asking.
Yes.
We never asked.
Right.
There is money. There is Commonwealth Development Fund.
Right.
We never asked. We have these international federations. You just heard from the cabinet secretary that we never sourced money from the ICC.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some millions of dollars,
Yep.
which
Yep.
we could have had and which could have used to develop sport.
Correct. Very
And
true.
cricket is not one of, we call it elite sport.
Yes.
But cricket is not one of those sports where we need, what do we need? One bat, two bats.
Yes.
Either way.
Yes.
4 pairs of gloves.
And Christies.
Yeah.
If you go to Bombay, you go to Delhi, you find these young boys
Yeah.
playing. They don't have a bat.
Correct.
They don't have the stumps, the
Yeah.
3 sticks.
Gully
Yeah.
cricket.
Gully cricket.
Yeah,
They-
gully
That's
cricket.
what I say.
Yeah.
That's the kind of interest we need to develop.
Correct.
Develop, say, at school level.
Yes.
What
Yes.
do we need at school? You need a net.
Hmm.
You need some of these officials of
Yeah.
cricket to go there, to talk to them, to get them interested. They can have a look at the T20.
Yeah.
Such a fascinating thing, which
Exactly.
is now caught up so well that in India everybody watches,
Correct.
Yes.
from the youngest to the oldest.
Correct.
People with no sporting background.
It's a family feast.
It's a family feast. They all watch.
Yeah.
Right? This is one of the things that we could introduce in Kenya.
Yes. Yes.
And the African player, as against the Indian player, I tell you, will excel at T20 because our players are artistic. Whether
True.
it comes to tennis, whether it comes to hockey,
Yeah.
the kind of hockey we play, the kind of tennis we play, the kind of cricket we play,
Yeah.
is the artistic style. Okay, you put an African there, he goes there and he hits.
Correct.
There is
Correct.
no inhibition.
There isn't.
You
there
see, at the
isn't.
golf course, he hits the longest ball.
Well, we still have Sharad Rao with us. We're going to be asking him much more questions. That was a beautiful insight on how the committee should actually function, just not for cricket, but also oversee
All
the
around,
other
yeah.
things. That is actually a very good suggestion. And you mentioned about how the committee, well, I asked you the question about the committee being formed and how it might affect in terms of the election process. We kind of see that they should have kind of included a few cricketers or someone with a cricketing background, at least knowledge of that. Now, I've got a question here from someone anonymous who is messaging saying, why is the CS not being corrected about this? If that is the case, then why is she not corrected?
Well, this official gazette came only last week,
Yes.
so there hasn't been time. I think the first public reaction that you had is one the other day with, I think, Jimmy Rayani.
Yes.
And I am now the second one to be talking about it.
Right.
So there will be reaction, and particularly after they've heard us today,
Yeah.
I think there will be reaction,
Right.
which will obviously be moved to the cabinet secretary. All right, and she will listen. She's a very nice person. She has sports at heart,
Yes.
and she will do everything possible.
Right.
And our suggestion that expand the terms of this one, I think probably if she takes it and she takes it kindly and she actually implements it,
Which is
I think that will be a great benefit to
exactly. That is a very smart
Right.
move. Yes.
Yeah, not just cricket.
Correct.
Now, when it comes to cricket, I think you had a question for me.
Yes.
Yes,
Priyanka.
I did, Mr. Rao. So, obviously, we've seen over the last decade and a bit more that the management of Cricket Kenya has changed consistently, but there's been no positive changes that the new managements have brought about. So, do you think after the election process has taken place that we'll see a positive change which will be consistent for the betterment of cricket?
First thing is that it hasn't changed for the better. It's become worse. There are conflicts, there are squabbles, there is a fight for leadership, fight for glory. No one is interested in cricket, promoting cricket as such.
Agreed.
They're all there for their own personal glorification.
True.
And that has to go.
Correct.
In our days, we were volunteers. We were passionate about the game. We were passionate about how we should improve the game. That's not there. That's lacking.
Yeah.
And that comes to this, my next thing. That I think what the timeline that you look at now, she has given from March 22nd to the end of August.
Yes.
Correct.
6 months.
Yes.
Yes.
So 6 months there will be no activity on the ground as far as cricket's concerned.
Correct.
It will be the same committee that we want out.
Yes.
That's the committee that is going to be there for the next 6 months.
Yes.
So my suggestion to the CS would be disband. Disband Cricket Kenya today.
Right.
on Monday when she sees this.
Cut it from the court.
Disband the Nairobi Cricket League. All right. Normally, when you do this and government steps in, we have protest from the International Federation.
Yes.
Right, that the government's interfering.
Right.
Here, the government's interfering at the instance of the International Federation.
Correct.
True. Very
Alright.
true. Yes.
So they are doing it. They can't complain if the government is now interfering.
Correct.
And interfering positively.
Exactly. It's for a betterment.
Remove the present management. Have what we call a task force,
Yes.
where we have experienced players with knowledge of cricket, with knowledge of sportsmen, who can also draft the constitution. We have drafted very many constitutions.
Yes.
All right, so it's not something that has to be two prominent judges of the International Criminal Court and the Court of Appeal to draft it for us.
Yeah.
We can do it. And there is a draft constitution. It is just, I think, that Nairobi were objecting to it.
Yes.
So you have to bring them in line, and you bring them in line by disbanding. Disband CK, disband all the affiliated associations. Let this body run it, whether it's for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. It doesn't matter. Bring it on course.
Right.
Election doesn't solve a problem.
Yes.
To have a constitution and having election, and you got the wrong people in because they are experts at getting votes. And the voting structure. so you get the wrong people. The right
Absolutely.
You just hit the nail.
That's exactly what's been happening, and boom. Call a spade, right?
Yes, call a spade a spade. That's very true. Because you had a question for him.
Mr. Rao, which is your favorite IPL?
He's getting out of
On a lighter note, he's like, this is it.
Okay, I think that probably would interest those who are watching IPL. And
Yes.
I congratulate you for having a program
Thank
such
you.
as the one you have.
Thank you.
Of course, the favorite team, as far as most Indians are concerned, is Mumbai Indians.
Hallelujah. This is it.
But I have no favorite team.
Okay.
What I've been watching IPL with great interest at the performances.
Right. Of
course.
Of different players.
The scores that we have had, 260, 245, 248, amazing.
Yeah.
I could never imagine that in 20 overs you can make 240 runs.
Right.
And that also not the entire team, 5 wickets, 4 wickets.
True.
And this is astounding.
Yeah.
And look at the batting performances. That's what I'm looking at.
Yes.
True.
And I look at not so much on the overseas players. I'm looking at our Indian
players. And they're performing
right?
brilliantly.
Because this is where you discover them.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
This is where you train them, because they find their own faults.
Yes.
I mean, the sixes they are hitting.
It's out of the park.
In our days, one sixer was making a whole test match. Now you have 26s. How many sixes? How many boundaries? A chap like Rishabh Pant, he goes in there, he just hits sixes.
Yeah. He's brilliant.
It's amazing. So I look at the performance as far as the batsmen are concerned,
Yes.
and particularly the younger batsmen.
True.
True.
And the bowlers, like the bowler you mentioned just earlier.
Yeah.
The one who had 18 dot balls.
Yes.
Chahar.
Yes.
Chahar.
Deepak
Deepak Chahar.
Brilliant.
Amazing performance.
Brilliant performances. Well,
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for coming in, Mr. Sharad Rao. It has been our pleasure, and I think what you've suggested has to go a long way. And Cabinet Secretary Amina, if you are listening to this, you definitely need to listen to it very keenly and very carefully, because the changes that you have mentioned are brilliant. We already feel it here.
Absolutely.
In the studio. I
have hope now. I'm burning with hope now.
Yes, and thank you so much once again for coming in. It has been our pleasure. And hey, keep it right here to Radio 44, because the music never stops.